I don't know exactly why we do that. Probably because we just, we're maybe culturally, we just don't want to deal with difficult things. but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we kind of, we tend to attach stigma, and there and thereby end up stigmatizing people
Yes.
when they're. Hey everybody, Ken from Home Instead here. Thanks so much for joining us again today. Today my guest is Laura Hendrie of Partnering in Care. Laura is certified as both a dementia care consultant and a trainer through Positive Approach to Care, an organization led by world-renowned dementia educator Teepa Snow. In her journey that led her to this passion, Laura has played the role of caregiver, writer, public speaker, palliative care and hospice volunteer, and even teacher. I've known Laura for a couple of years now. We're both part of the Santa Fe Healthcare Network, which is a group of passionate individuals and organizations serving our community's older adults. Passion is definitely a word that I feel like Laura embodies in all that she does. I'm real excited to have her on today. She just received some exciting news recently that she has been given the invitation to provide some trainings on dementia for our local police and fire departments. And so we're going to be chatting a bit about that and some other things. So welcome, Laura. Thanks for coming and spending this time with me today.
Oh, Ken, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. Yeah.
So I know you've been on the show before, and so look for that episode if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the specifics of what Laura does in her work. But maybe for those that are joining us that haven't heard about what you do before, maybe if you could give your quick elevator speech for the work you do.
No, well, you did mention an elevator speech, and I don't know if there are too many elevators in New Mexico to practice this on, and I really don't have an elevator speech, but I would say that my goal is really to increase awareness and knowledge and to teach basic hand skills that can transform what we have today in the dementia community into a really um, positive community of carers, people caring for each other
Mm-hmm.
on both sides of the aisle, you might say, but
Yeah.
everybody working together to do it. And I would say really what I'm about is much, not dealing so much with what has been lost, but what has been retained in the brain. It's a lot of brain science I teach, and how you can access what's still in someone's brain who's living with dementia so that you can connect with them when the other things are lost. So it really is about teaching the caregiver how many opportunities they have to uh, to be curious and to learn, even though this is a very hard process. It's the hardest process in the world.
Mm.
But teaching caregivers that there's no need for hopelessness. There's actually so much you can do to help out somebody who's living with dementia.
Yeah, I
So
love that. That's
that's it.
exactly what you were bringing to mind as and you touched on it at the very end there. It's a hopeful perspective. It's the right
Right.
perspective that you're bringing, because I think that what the work that you're doing and the message that you're getting out there is also dealing with stigma. And there's stigma attached to pretty much most difficulties that we can go through in our lives. Like, I don't know exactly why we do that. Probably because we just, we're maybe culturally, we just don't want to deal with difficult things. but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we kind of, we tend to attach stigma, and there and thereby end up stigmatizing people
Yes.
when
And
they're dealing with hard things.
that's right. So it becomes us versus them, which is so insane since dementia is just coming down like a wave into the world. 13.8 million people in the United States will have it by 2025, according to the Alzheimer's Association. And it's coming down. And if we turn our backs because we're afraid of it, I mean, we're not going to be prepared to help anyone who has it because we'll be too afraid. Or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I don't know whether you say maybe it is people feeling unlucky. You know, if I talk about it, I'll be unlucky and then I'll get it. But
Yeah.
who's lucky with the person who has it or the people who are left to take care of it? I mean, it is a all person. It's just like the virus in some ways. It's
And I mean,
everybody's
that's
susceptible.
there's a realism that I think is sometimes, something it's kind of scary, to be confronted with reality sometimes. But the
Sometimes, yeah.
reality is, all of us are going to get something. We're all going to deal with something, like
Mhm.
it's not, we're not going
That's
to get,
right.
we're not going to get out of this thing, without having to deal with some difficulty. So the
Right.
more we can be open to the potential that's very real, that there's a positive way to respond to these things.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
and the way that we respond to the difficulties that we're faced with in life matters.
It matters.
And
It all matters. It matters not just for the person we're being positive toward, but for ourselves, for our own inner growth
mhm,
and belief in ourselves and in our futures and in our kids and all that stuff. Yeah, I so
yeah.
agree. Yeah.
So I love it. I love what we're talking about. I love that you're putting this, all these good things out into the world. And it's really exciting that you've been invited to facilitate these trainings
Yeah.
for local police and fire department services. Can you speak a little bit to why you feel it's important that, in particular, these types of local services be educated on identifying and dealing with dementia?
I can. I want to make one correction to what you said, which is the fire department actually hasn't responded yet. They will
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm going to make sure they do. But so far, I'm working with the police department, and the police department is going to invite the fire department to join in on this training that I'm going to give them. So we'll see what happens. But I do want to do the police, the EMTs, and the firemen in our town. And I'll tell you how it started was with Black Lives Matter.
Wow.
Um, I know. I'm sitting here in quarantine. I'm listening to the Black Lives Matter. I'm getting more and more anxious of, you know, what's my role? What has been my role? What do I want my role to be? And I'm in quarantine, so I can't go to facilities, assisted living homes or memory care centers. I'm not allowed to get out. And I have all this knowledge that I've gained over the last 2 years of studying with this particular Teepa Snow of PAC organization. And
Mhm.
it just hit me right around one of the deaths nationwide that happened that I read about where I could have sworn looking at it, that's dementia.
Mhm.
And that person did not understand that he was supposed to get out of the car. And so he got upset. And the police hauled him out of the car, which is very scary for somebody who has dementia. That means their vision is screwed up, their language is screwed up, they don't understand what's being done. And it just sort of hit me like a ton of bricks. I thought, oh my God, these poor policemen who don't, I mean, no wonder they get so amped up. And I understand that their situation is they've got to handle a situation efficiently and fast and professionally. And but if they knew about dementia, they might realize that there is a different way to approach dementia. And I'm not talking about, the racial thing. Absolutely, that's a real factor to deal with. But the training, I believe, for myself, I believe I don't want to defund the police. I want to help them demilitarize so they are safer and their job is safer. And also, especially for my own sake, because I do deal with people with dementia, that if I can integrate what I know into what they're doing, we can work together to help people who are all around us and living under the radar because they don't have families, they don't have medical care, they don't have, we just are not giving the things to so many people who live alone. And so it just seemed to me this was like a no-brainer. Stop
Yeah.
waiting to get into the facilities because if there's anything I want to do, it's to spread this kind of knowledge that I've gotten that I think is just revolutionary, revolutionary in terms of changing the way we deal with people with dementia. And I just realized, yeah, if I learned from it after my years of studying with dementia, if I learned a lot from doing it, then the police who run into dementia every day and have to deal with it all the time on the street,
Yeah.
they could use it too. So that is why I started pursuing this, and I started last November. You know, I had to, because I was used to giving experiential workshops where people do things in person. I had to relearn the whole thing so I could do it on a Zoom,
Mhm.
and that took a long time. I'm not very good technologically, so
Yeah, that's
I
something I was thinking about because I know that like a lot of the methods and the approaches that you teach have a
yes,
lot to do with the importance of person to person interaction and touch.
that's right. With touch and how you speak and how you know, how you approach and how you speak. But I've been learning it. You want to see what one of my, my techniques is? This is
Yeah,
one of,
yeah, I would love to. Yeah.
well, I'll tell you how this is one of my Zoom techniques, because my husband isn't always home, so I can't use him as a model to demonstrate my these behaviors. But behind this curtain right here is well, it's somebody. I made a friend. Yes. Can you see that?
Yeah.
This is Flora. So if I want to show a technique, I might say, "Hey, Flora," and that's one of the techniques.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did. Yeah, you took her hand and then placed your other hand on top.
Yes. But I.
Oh, you've got a string and everything. I did feel for a second like I
Hey,
saw it move on its own, and I was like, "How did that happen?"
that's Flora. Anyway, I spent a lot of months sort of preparing this so that I could show some things on camera by myself that people could then work with at home, techniques they could work with at home. And
Amazing, Laura. It's so creative.
I'm working at it. I do think she probably does better without dark glasses on, but I didn't want to, I don't know. I kind of like her coolness. She's kind of like you, Ken. I kind of like that.
You're funny. Well, yeah, wow. I mean, I did not expect for that to be the place from which you became inspired to do this and reach
Yeah.
out to these service members, but that's amazing, just
When you think of it, yeah.
to be sensitive enough and reflective enough to consider different types of things that could make interactions go bad,
Yeah.
and I think that, you made me realize that, you know, given the fact that early onset dementia is a real thing,
Yes.
and that, you know, we know that like the homeless population in particular is plagued with
Oh,
all sorts of types of mental illness. It wouldn't
yeah.
be accurate to call dementia a
Yeah.
mental illness necessarily,
It's,
but um,
it's
yeah,
mental
all, the
failure.
more the more trainings, the more degrees of insight that our local police and the public service folks that deal with with all of us on all these fronts, the more degrees of knowledge that they can get about these things, it's all the better. It's going to impact the world.
It's going to make everybody safer and possibly be able to connect better with people they don't understand, because that's really, I think, what it's about. Is if you don't understand what somebody is doing or saying or thinking, things can go so wrong if you're not willing to adapt your behavior until you can understand them. I
Mhm.
think of when I first arrived in Santa Fe. I was in a we got we were rear-ended from behind on Cerritos. It was a bad accident. It was a 3-car pileup. Ours was fine because we were just pushed way much further down the road. But everybody showed up: the EMTs, the firemen, the police. Um, We had to close off this. They had to close off the streets while they dealt with everybody. There were 3 different cars involved, and I mean, this was part of it. Was being so impressed, first of all, at what the police did there, what the EMTs did there, how everybody's doing their job so well, and the whole time just thinking to myself, wow, and they were all old people. They were people my age or older. So there was lots of trauma going on. People were frightened. There was a grandfather with his 2 kids, and the kids had bounced around in the back seat. They were fine, but he was really, really pretty frightened, and he was nervous, and so he was angry. And watching everybody, working to de-escalate his anger was just magnificent to watch. I think that these police, they know so much about de-escalation in our town. But gosh, it just seemed to me, wow, that this must happen all the time, where a medical emergency, little car fender bender, these people who have been in an accident, they may not be able to figure out that they've been in an accident. They may get out of the car, maybe their arm is broken, but they have lost the brain attachment that would tell them your arm hurts. So they're just mad. They're just upset.
Yeah.
And my gosh, these public servants that are out there every day, uh, what they would do probably is write in their notebook, this man is agitated. And then, at the most, unless they could de-escalate him, which I think they're also good at, but if they say he's agitated, maybe they call the ambulance. Ambulance takes him. At the hospital, they say, well, he does look agitated, and they give him some drugs to calm him down. But what they've done is just rob him of the one form of communication he has left, which is acting out, because his language is gone and he doesn't know what's gone on. But by doing this, there's just so many other ways that if you have a little bit of training, you can say, well, he's agitated, but that doesn't mean that he is um, somebody who is agitated all the time. He's been through an accident, and if you spend time talking to him, you realize he doesn't even know he's been in an accident.
It doesn't mean he's incapable
It
of
doesn't know.
responding
And
in a positive way to the situation if you can modify your expectations a bit and like how you.
right, if you realize that agitation is a form of communication, he just can't say the words, but he needs something really badly from you. And when for instance, one of the forms of language that people use when they get agitated and they're living with dementia is they start cussing.
I've used cussing before myself as a form of communication when I'm
Absolutely.
agitated.
You slam your hand in a door, and what are you going to do? Unless there's a little child watching you, you're going to say some really nasty words. It's your brain naturally saying, I can't access my regular language on the left, so I'm going to access the language that I have left, which is on the right side of the brain. And one of those languages is forbidden words. So you suddenly throw out a racial slur at a
Hmm.
policeman who's trying to help you because you're trying to say, I need something. I need, oh my God, I'm frightened. But how can you tell that when when somebody's saying, saying really lewd things to you that they would never say if they knew what they were doing. It's
Yeah,
the only
with
way they're
people,
so
with people who have dementia, as you know, I mean, but some folks might not know, like with someone that has dementia, those types of things can come out of their mouth. And that doesn't mean something about who the person on the inside is necessarily. It,
no,
those types of things can come out, words that maybe they never used their entire life for
never.
some reason would come out because the communication abilities within their brain are affected. So
Yeah,
I mean they might yell a word like microwave
yeah,
or cheese or
yeah,
just something that doesn't seem to make any sense with the situation, just as much as a word that might be incredibly offensive,
that's
you
right.
know so
That's
I think that yeah, like having the ability to identify some telltale signs of what could be dementia
yeah,
can really help a lot if we know that at that point it's probably a good time to not act as though they're a person in their right mind just trying to
Right.
attack us.
That's
Like,
right. And for a policeman, that's so important because they need the policeman so badly to help them out. But if the policeman, and rightly so, if he doesn't have training and he starts saying, now come on, lady, you don't need to speak like that to me. I'm trying to help you out. And the lady just gets louder and louder because
mm,
you're not listening to me. I'm trying to tell you this. I have a broken hip. I'm walking on a broken hip. They
oh,
can't say
bless
that.
you.
They can say, do you have a penis, or whatever they say that is just like, whoa, lady, whoa. But if you know that this is possible, that people can talk like this out of one side of their brain that stays active far longer than the other side of the brain that goes away quickly, you can really be prepared for this. So you're saying, they're trying to communicate with me. They're not trying to cuss me out. They're
Yeah.
not trying to attack me. They are trying to tell me something, usually about an unmet need that is a survival need that they really need somebody to listen to. But it's so hard to listen to it if you don't know it. Yeah. Anyway, that's my elevator speech, I think. It's
No,
learning to listen to somebody who doesn't make sense. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
we've covered so much already. I think that is really helpful. You know, I know you gave us a little bit of a demonstration a bit
Sure.
ago, but can you tell us a little bit more about like maybe the specifics of the type of training you're planning to take
Sure.
the police department through,
Sure.
and maybe is it more of like just a basic primer, or is it like an ongoing thing that you're going to be able to do?
Well, I'm doing this for free because I really feel so strongly that this is what I was called to do. So I'm just doing it for free. Um, I hope that they'll want follow-ups because
Yeah,
it is teaching new techniques that you have to practice and you have to get used to doing in order for them to do naturally when you're in a stress situation, which
yeah,
cops are, the police are just always in a stress situation. But basically what I'm going to teach them is I'm going to start pretty basic of what do you all think dementia is? Uh, how do you think you can recognize somebody who may have dementia on the street? Because to me, the real difference that I had to learn as I was doing this is the difference between, usually I work with families and professional caregivers. Emergency services people, they do not do this. They do not know these people that they run into every day who may have dementia. So it's a whole different approach because they don't necessarily have a list saying this person has dementia. Maybe they do, but they don't, they have to go from ground zero to trying to communicate with somebody they've never met before. So uh, I want to talk a lot about what dementia is and how to maybe recognize it when somebody has it. I want to, then I'll go into more specific activities that police or EMTs or firemen have that they might need help with, such as fraud, theft, um, neglect, abuse, people getting lost, which is a huge difference between uh, people with healthy brains getting lost and somebody with dementia, because a person with dementia gets lost, he doesn't know he's lost. And so
yeah,
if the policeman is coming after him and saying, hey, Ruben, come on, um, that guy could get really frightened and feel that he's being hunted because he
yeah,
doesn't know he's lost. And so how to approach people like this with the idea of trying to communicate with them so that they are able to connect and to uh, um, help to cooperate with the police, and thus making the policeman's job easier. My big thing is I want to make it easier for policemen to deal with dementia so that they don't get tangled up, so they're dancing with them a little bit instead of tangling up with them, give them the chance to
yeah,
dance
I
with
like
them
that.
anyway.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great way of putting it. Um,
To do stuff with the person instead of to the person, because I do think police, they're here to protect our whole community, and they can't afford the time of dealing with somebody with dementia. But if they don't know how to take the time that they need to just to help this one problem now, it just saves them so much time in the future because dementia is not a one-off event. It will happen again and again and again for years for that person. So
Yeah.
say you
And more
find
within the community, right? Like, I mean,
in the
like
community.
the thing that I always, tend to mention anytime I'm giving a presentation to a group about dementia or Alzheimer's is a word that people recognize a little bit more, you know, but I tell them, if you didn't put your hand up when I asked if you knew someone that has, been affected or impacted by dementia, um, just give it some time because pretty much everybody's hand is going to go up at some
That's
point
right.
in their life because the numbers of people, with the baby boomer generation and,
Yeah,
the statistics just getting, higher and higher, with age, not a normal part of aging necessarily. It's something that we certainly need more research on, but um, yeah, it's important to recognize you're going to encounter this.
you're going to encounter it.
You
Yes,
probably
exactly.
already have. And like
Absolutely.
and
Yeah,
it maybe freaked you out, and it was just kind of one of those situations where you're like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna stay away from that person."
right.
Like
And
rather
that
than
doesn't work with dementia because dementia will, they're not going to go away. They won't go on a diet and feel better. They won't go exercise and feel better. They have it and they will have it till they die, which means that if you have a problem with them now and you're not handling it, it could get worse tomorrow. It could happen in 10 minutes, the exact same problem again.
yeah.
It's not a one-off thing. And the other thing is it's not dumb. It may be dementia. And all of us, I think, have run into people that we think, wow, they're really acting stupid. They're doing stupid things.
Hmm.
What if it's not stupid? What if they have dementia and they're trying to communicate with us? That's a big, that's a big what if.
Yeah, that goes a long way to just humanizing one another in general. I think that,
Yes.
we're pretty we're a culture that tends to lack patience and empathy, when we've got it in our heads that someone's, in our way or inconveniencing
Yeah.
us somehow, and um,
And
things like
I do,
this.
yeah. Let me just quickly say, I think especially the police has been in a really tough position all over the country because of their need. They are trained to be patient. They are trained to wait things out, but they're also got lots of pressure of do the job, connect with the community, keep the community safe. And
Yeah.
this this conflict that they're running into, when they run into it and they have somebody with dementia who just can't go fast and he can't sit down when they tell him and he can't
Mhm.
understand what they're saying. I mean, talk about sending their brains on a trip, like, damn, I just wanted to make you sit down. What's wrong with you? Why can't you understand? I just want you to sit down. I
Mm.
mean, I think these police have just an unbelievably bad job, or not bad job. They have a great
It's
job,
a
but
tough job, yeah. Like, I mean, we're thankful for the job that they do, and that
yes.
people that there are people in our communities that feel called to do that difficult
Oh my
work.
gosh.
But the
Yeah.
pressure, I think you're talking about that pressure that's on
Pressure.
them, it can
Yeah.
be immense. Yeah.
Immense. And if I think that pressure is helped by having enough training that you can say to yourself, this little lady from a Baptist church who is cussing me out with the F bomb words and all those words, that she's trying, I understand that she's trying to tell me something and she can't figure out how to do that. That's a lot different than saying, boy, that person is dumb. She is really making herself, digging herself into a hole. Instead of
Mhm.
say, boy, something's going on with her brain, something's going on with her brain, and finding resources to help, like the
Yeah.
caregiver's guide. I'm planning to give that to a lot of the police because they don't have any resources, but they can hand it out to neighbors and to the
Yeah,
family and say,
absolutely.
boy, you need to work on this problem. I'm not expecting to ask police to do any more work than they do because they're so busy. But if they have that understanding, so they realize I don't have to do this kind of work. I don't have to do this much work if I have the right approach.
Yeah, just to even know, to have an idea of, of the types of signs to look for in a case like this, where, you would then, consider that what probably needs to happen here is maybe a handoff to a social worker of some sort, or to, someone who would be able to help them look into services, because
Absolutely.
they have an inkling, they have enough knowledge, given to them, that they're confidently able to say, this might be what they're dealing with. So,
Yeah.
like, this would be a
We,
good direction. Yeah.
it's great. And it also, that sort of brings us back around to the idea of everybody working together, especially for these, the people that are stranded in our society and they don't have families, they don't have help, they don't have money, they don't have resources. Everybody working together, trying to work more and helping the police,
Mm-hmm.
and the police helping us, and us helping the weaker people who are, it's not their fault they have dementia. They're doing the best they can. We're all doing the best we can, but
Yeah.
learning we can learn and they can't. We can learn and adapt our behavior. They can't. That's a huge difference,
Mm-hmm.
um, between a normal brain and a not normal brain. Is we can pick up new information and say, okay, I'll try this.
Mm.
People with dementia, they're broken. They cannot retain anything new they learn. Yeah.
So,
Unless it's habit, 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 habit. Like I'm teaching Flora over here. If I teach her to raise her hand enough, she's gonna do it.
so, in addition to these
Yeah.
workshops that we mentioned that you're going to be giving to, local service members, you do these types of consultations and trainings and things like that for families and all sorts of gatherings, right? So how can folks learn more about what you're able to offer and get in touch with you?
Great question. Actually, I've just started to work with Kitty Falone, Dr. Kitty Falone, who has a support group out in El Dorado. We're now working together with her Alzheimer's support group or dementia support group, I think it is.
Great.
Although most people there are dealing with spouses or family members who have
Yeah.
that problem. Otherwise, people can just contact me personally. I'm doing stuff on Zoom now. So I'm taking clients on Zoom for consulting and for also I can take families or individuals for training for dementia care, for training them how to um, think about and um, look at of ways to creatively problem solve with somebody who has dementia instead of doing it to them, creatively in a positive way, so that you know so that nobody gets hurt, and so that possibly you can actually solve a problem and move on, because it is one set of problems after another, there's no doubt about it. um, and that's what I do. So I can do it with groups or individuals. Um, and then you can also see me on Kitty's support group, which is the
Kitty is
second and
awesome.
fourth Wednesday. Yeah,
Yeah, we love her. She's
yeah,
great.
she's great. Yeah,
So yeah, definitely get in touch with Laura if it looks like, maybe if you're dealing with dementia within your family, or if someone is a caregiver for someone with dementia. Lots of great wisdom coming from my amazing guest today. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today and having this chat. And best of luck. Thank you for working with our public service members, because I think that's going to be just better for everybody. Thank you.
oh, I think so too. Thank you so much, though, Ken. Thanks for letting me talk about it. I appreciate it.